Hey, Vuma Putty here, and I wanted to take a look at the differences between Astralis with Es3tag and Xyp9x and why they're struggling so far with Xyp9x returning to the roster. Now, you may have noticed they did amazing on nuke with Es3tag on the roster, going a total of 14-2. I believe both losses being to Astralis, whereas with Xyp9x on the roster, they're now 1-4 with a loss to Godsend. And I know what you're thinking, but Vu, they just beat Liquid just now after this video was made, and now they're 2-4 on Nuke, but still, the idea remains. There is a difference between the way these two players play this spot, and I wanted to dissect it, as Nuke has been a big failure for them with him on the roster. But first, we'll take a look at this angle here. This is one of those angles that abuse the left eye peek. You can see you really can't catch the head of Xyp9x here from this angle, similar to the back plat box on Dust 2 or second oranges on Inferno. This is one of those angles that even though you typically don't want to be peeking to the left, it gives you a bit of an advantage. So to begin with, I thought I'd start with Es3tag to show you what I think is done correctly from him before showing Xyp9x. And of course, part of it is that Xyp9x may be a little bit rusty, having not played for a while, but you will see some other things as well. And first off, Es3tag actually holds on to his utility a little bit longer than you'll see from Xyp9x. I think this comes from a bit of confidence in his ability to actually win duels. You'll see here, holding onto the Molotov playing that crack angle, he considers a rotate, but he does come back around and toss that molly after a few seconds, and he almost gets punished. In fact, Chris J hit him through the corner of the box there. There's not too much else remarkable about this round. It's going to be a pretty standard round from a ramp player, meaning his team is going to die, and he's just going to end up saving. So looking at the following round, we'll see something similar as well. Es3tag going to make his way over to ramp here. He's not going to throw his smoke right off the bat in this round. He'll hold on to it for a little while, and he'll end up using it playing a little bit of an off angle. On the other side, he's got his team. He's actually got Magisk playing close to heaven here. This is an angle that's actually fairly relevant because it's going to allow Magisk to rotate over and support should Es3tag throw this smoke down and try and actually contest. So having a player close to rotate actually does make this setup work. If there was no player anywhere close by, he would probably have to drop that utility a bit earlier. Now holding on to the utility here, he'll hold, eventually dropping it down, and with the time on the clock and the fact that Device grabs this quick frag, you're going to see Magisk rotate his way over to ramp to support, and now they'll have a double ramp setup. Now this may not have been possible had that smoke been tossed a little bit earlier, as Mousesports may have looked for this ramp take earlier on in the round before Magisk was actually able or comfortable to rotate to the double up. Es3tag will get flashed off the angle there, but you'll see the willingness to recontest. Rather than falling all the way back, they go right back up ramp, expecting this to have been a fake, and this allows the rotate to upper to be a little bit quicker. Now, it may not necessarily have made a difference, but in fact, Dupree could have lost that duel to Rops if he was alone, and if that had happened, you would have seen a 1v2 with Rops with the bomb and lower control. It actually could have been losable. This is one of the last rounds I want to look at here from Es3tag, again towards ramp, and you're going to see how long he'll hold on to his utility sometimes. Device tosses that smoke for him before going back around to control outer. Es3tag simply waiting in ramp here. He waits for the smoke to fully dissipate before eventually re-smoking it, and he's going to hold on to his molly afterwards for quite a while as well. This is with some pressure from Mousesports towards lower. He's well aware that he really does need to hold on to ramp here. Device still remaining in hell. Es3tag with the smoke down doesn't actually budge away from position. He stays here for quite a while. Eventually, Mousesports are going to make a bit of a move, and Es3tag will have the Molotov remaining for that if he needs it, and he will in fact drop it down, providing a little bit of extra time for Device to get the rotate over. Device tosses his own molly, and with a lack of pressure, and you're going to see Mousesports beginning to execute into the upper bomb site here, Es3tag knows he's got a chance to go for an aggressive flank. This is the type of play that you may not see very much of from Xyp9x, going very quickly into the lobby flank there and doubling up on the kills because they were not ready for that whatsoever. With the molly down on ramp, of course, they weren't expecting him to push through, and they were coming from so many angles, they simply weren't able to cover the flank. So if we move over to Xyp9x here, I will note that, this is a later demo than the Es3tag one, so Mousesports may have made some adjustments. However, there are some issues. To begin with, we've got Xyp9x here. He's going to go for the Molly ramp, and he's going to play, it looks like he wants to be playing as a bit of a rotator, but Glaive is going to make some contact outer, get some pressure, which means Xyp9x is going to know he needs to hold on to ramp here. The problem is that smoke. That smoke is actually going to come back to bite him here, as that smoke lands deep enough that Rops, the lurker here, is going to end up sitting in it. And Xyp9x is well aware of this. He throws this flash specifically to blind out Rops just before that smoke goes down, but Rops dodges it, and Xyp9x, missing the jump out of the rail there, ends up getting pushed down into lower ramp from the 1v1. And that's the one thing you really want to avoid as a ramp player. You want to avoid losing the 1v1 in that type of situation, because Mousesports have taken lower to secret control and now ramp control, and that means that even in the 5v4 you're going to see Dupree do something you might not usually see him do, which is go for a flank secret here. He even made a few footsteps, potentially could have been heard, because with no ramp control and no outer control, there's way too many angles to hold, even for 5 players, even maybe for 6 players. There's just too many angles to hold. Some risks do need to be taken to some extent, and Dupree takes the perfect risk, kind of bailing Xyp9x out of this one, because Dupree over here towards secret, Mousesports are going to walk right back into him, and he's going to get himself a couple of kills that essentially secures the round. The problem is there are definitely situations where Rops maybe flanked ramp and got a kill. Maybe they hear Dupree flanking and catch him off guard, or Rops goes Twinkie. Any of these sorts of things could certainly have gone wrong, and generally losing ramp control over a missed smoke and a missed movement is not a very good situation. So again, I don't think this is all on Xyp9x. I think there are certainly some differences that cause some issues, but there are other problems going on. You'll see here Xyp9x smoke and nade in towards ramp, then he's simply going to hold it. Nothing too crazy there. On the other side of the map, Rops through the lurk smoke. That made Glaive drop into vents, and Dupree is just going to get himself killed here. And afterwards, the whole rest of the team is going to end up dying as well. Glaive dies in lower, Device is over here in garage, Magisk is going to throw a re-smoke squeaky here, and Rops is going to be lurking in it. Similar to how he forced Xyp9x lower, he's actually going to get the kill on Magisk, and now Xyp9x is going to rotate on over, grab himself a single frag, and save his gun. And unfortunately, that's the life of a ramp player. Sometimes things just don't really work out. Alright, I did mention perhaps some rust, and that's what is going to happen right here. Early molly in towards ramp. Device is going to be here giving some support, trying to play a bit of a bait and switch here, and Device will often solo ramp, so it's not much of a giveaway. Xyp9x over on the wall here, waiting. Chris J is going to jump across, and that is unfortunate, but that's, you can't do that. You can't do that. So there's been a lot of rounds throughout this half that Xyp9x really didn't have much say in. He's just rotating into a bomb site, after it's already been taken. Not much action on ramp in general, but here we've got a round where ramp will actually come into play, and things just seem a little bit disjointed in the way this one's playing out. So Device there, tossed the smoke towards ramp, then went towards secret. Glaive is playing his standard position, and you're going to see Mousesports throw, they're going to put a bit of pressure on outer, and then they're going to hit towards ramp. This is something they often like to do, but you're going to see the crispness in the timing of this utility from Xyp9x actually ends up being his downfall. He threw the original re-smoke there while the original smoke was still up, a couple of seconds off. Then here he's going to toss the molly down just before that smoke goes down as well, maybe a second and a half there as well. And you're going to see that Glaive, knowing that, a ramp play might come out, he wants to rotate to ramp, but he's been delayed long enough, and Xyp9x falls off fast enough that he doesn't get there quite in time. And you can see Xyp9x really does reconsider and potentially wanted to go for the re-aggression, but he had fallen a little too far back there, couldn't go for that re-aggress, or wasn't confident in it. And that means that he's going to end up being a little bit impatient impotent here, and the upper hold is going to be what matters. But Xyp9x isn't going to be here for the flank quite in time. This upper hold doesn't go very well. You know, they had the players there in position as well. It just didn't go quite the way they may have wanted, and Xyp9x just a little slow on the rotate to what potentially could have happened. Now, realistically, his team probably should have held on to upper, but sometimes you're just going to lose those engagements, and it does help if your rotate is there a little bit quicker. You saw that from the round with Es3tag where, you know, Device rotated over, they tossed the mollies down, and off the back of those mollies, Es3tag was able to go for a quick retake while the upper take was still in effect. This time around, Xyp9x's flanks were a little slow, a little bit later, and that caused some clear issues. So at the end of the day, Es3tag more aggressive, certainly more confident, willing to hold on to the smokes a little bit longer, and that allows some situations where they get into doubled up ramp holds and actually hold on to ramp. I think that makes teams a little bit more worried about going back ramp against old Astralis. There are definitely some other things going on here, some other variables at play. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped.